up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons. My name is Chris, and with me today
is Mr. Wednesday's favorite brother, the Outlaw Steve Jr.
And with us, we also have...
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
What?
One hoy, please.
A single hoy.
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 That's right. It's Mr. Triggered List. Mr. Laundry List.
Mr. Laundry
Did
List.
my name just get changed?
Apparently.
Laundry List.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm the Trigger Happy Outlaw Steve Jr. today.
Bang, bang.
Because let me tell y'all out there in listener land, I am #triggered.
But, by the way, my
Thanks,
name is
W.
Mr. Naughty List, in
Yeah,
case you
it's
didn't catch
Mr.
that
Naughty
from
List.
my trademark catchphrase.
Well, we do have a Topic Thunder episode for you today, and we are #triggered.
#triggered.
As the title of the show suggests. #triggered. And
Trigger Happy.
we're
Trigger
gonna
Happy.
be talking about some stuff that we're less than pleased about.
Bang, bang.
But before we get into that, thanks to everybody for tuning into the show. Everybody, if you don't know, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us, hang out with us, engage with us. Let's get social. Social media.
Sounds like an 80s pop song.
Oh, man. There is a terrible, terrible, terrible YouTube video of a marketing event.
Oh, no.
And this guy who does not look like he's at all social wrote this song called Let's Get Social. And he sings it with the girl he's at the event with. And it's bad. You should look it up. It's a funny time. It's not a good time. It's a funny time.
It's a time.
Yeah. But we are on social media. Also, leave a review on the iTunes store if you haven't done that. You can leave a review or a rating. Either does the trick just fine. But it helps us make more shows.
With the stuff.
Yeah.
And the things.
Boosts the weird algorithm that iTunes has that
Boosted.
rates shows. I don't really know how it works, but I know it is helpful. But that being said, let's get triggered. Let's get social.
Let's Get Triggered sounds like the hit, like the club banger.
Yeah, by Drake and
Yeah.
DJ Khaled. Another one.
Way too upbeat for Drake.
Another one. Drake
Yeah,
did a
DJ
song. Drake did a song with DJ Khaled. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it is very strange.
Khaled. And then there's another guy now. His name is. There's another guy now. His name is Khalid. So
Yes.
I want them to collaborate.
Yeah, it's just
DJ Khaled and Khalid and our friend DJ.
And the song is all just about them getting confused for each other.
It's like, yeah, we got the same name, y'all. Gonna come to the club and be real confused about it.
It's
Speaking
it's
of
the
what we're
who's
triggered-
on it's the who's on first of club bangers.
It's the modern Who's on First. Speaking of things we're triggered by.
Yeah, DJ Khaled. Anyways, we're gonna jump into Topic Thunder. We're gonna talk about some triggered stuff. So, like I said, today's episode is called #triggered because we are #triggered. We're going to be talking about some stuff that we're just frankly pissed about.
Yeah,
Frank.
Yeah, we are frank and pissed about.
yeah, we're triggered, and it's not stuff like I can't believe my biracial dog married a girl who wears sweaters. You know, it's like Facebook likes to get triggered about. Well,
I'm
who
proud of my
cares?
beautiful Mexican wife.
#fake news.
Well, who cares what your biracial dog is doing? Okay.
I would agree with that.
Did I say biracial or bisexual?
You said racial.
Racial.
Okay.
So it's
So
like
it's-
your dog is a mutt.
Hey, that's
Hey.
offensive.
Whoa,
Hey,
whoa,
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 hey, whoa,
jeez, yo,
whoa.
whoa.
Can't just use
Hey.
canine racial
You can't
slurs.
just use the M word.
The M.
The M word.
Anyways, so things that we're mad about, things that we're pissed off about, things that as members of the nerd community, we have been we feel personally attacked by.
You did this to me.
Yes.
As you know, I love it.
Yeah. So I think the good starting point. I mean, we can't really have an episode like this and not talk about Firefly.
Well, duh.
Firefly. I mean, duh. But one season in a movie, got gypped. But that's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about. I think is just like shows, games, movies that just did not do us justice.
But they did us justice, but then someone involved with said movie or game
stole our justice.
Did injustice to
us.
Injustice 2, man, I play that.
That
on
was
my
an
cell
Easter
phone.
egg.
I
An audio
on my
Easter
cell
egg.
phone.
I play that on my cell phone. I got a Primal Swamp Thing and whatever Deadshot. It's pretty cool.
And whatever Deadshot.
No, so yeah, Firefly is a great way to jump off the show because here's what happened with Firefly. Firefly gave us a glorious season, and then it was taken from us
Unceremoniously axed.
Yeah, and in replacement of another season or another several seasons, they gave us a crappy movie. So
that killed everyone.
Yeah. So it's not like we want to see these come back. Or at least in some cases. Because if Firefly were to come back, it would suffer from the same terminal disease that Twin Peaks is suffering from, which they
and
came
X-Files.
back. And X-Files, for sure. They came back after so many years, and they made a crappy season. Just a real crappy season that ruined all my dreams, all my hopes. And it's not fair. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
Because it was, I mean,
Are you both playing Injustice right now?
No.
It's David Lynch, like it's supposed to be.
You brought
good.
it up.
But yeah, we have a few things that we're hashtag, and if you're listening at home, we're doing the two peace signs kind of against each other every time we say hashtag.
Oh yeah, hash brown.
Yeah, hashtag.
Pound sign. Pound sign. Triggered.
Hashtag triggered.
Tic-tac-toe board.
It really is one of those things where it feels personal, even though it's not.
But it is. But at the same time.
And as soon as Chris is done leveling up his Wonder Woman, he will let you know where we're going to go with this episode.
So, for me, I think the next thing is going to be alphas. I mean, we've talked about it a ton on the show.
Natural segue. Canceled Firefly. Canceled Alphas.
Yeah. And we've talked about it. I mean, I know I've talked about it a ton on the show.
Yes, we know.
And there are some people that probably still haven't seen it. It is a show about
alphas,
people that have like superhuman abilities. They're known as you can't say mutants.
I know copyright, but
yeah. That's why they're called alphas and not mutants.
I know.
But they have superhuman abilities, and they're called alpha abilities on the show. And it was an excellent show. It ran for 2 amazing seasons. Left us on a giant cliff.
Arguably one of the biggest cliffhangers I've ever experienced.
Like, just a huge cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger, we talked about it recently on a Pineapple episode. And the cliffhanger was everyone die. Like, it makes you think everyone dies.
Or is at least very unconscious.
Except for one character.
Yeah, except for Gary, who
the autistic character.
Yeah, which autism is the next phase of evolution, so
makes sense.
He'll be fine. But his name's Gary. So
it's like the guy that checks you out at the grocery store. And he's also like 40 years old.
I don't think that's a nice thing to say about mentally challenged people.
No, I was saying the name Gary.
I was thinking Gary, like from Team America.
I was
You know,
thinking,
where it's
like the snail on SpongeBob.
where she's like, Gary, and then she totally mows down the whole room, and then afterwards she's like, Gary. But no, Alphas is a great example. So like, why would you spend so much time, and they spent a lot of time on Alphas building up this villain character, because for a few episodes it was kind of a it was kind of like a procedural kind of show, you know, like you had these villains and they were like single episode arcs, and then they died, or like they got locked up. The main, I guess you could say, like the main-ish character of Alphas, he was a hyperkinetic, which basically meant that like if he meant to do it, his body would do it, and it would be perfectly executed. So
Awesome.
yeah. So there's one thing where he like at the very beginning of the pilot, he like flips quarters from across the room into a vending machine.
And it was so cool.
And then later, a couple episodes later, he like a enemy person is holding a victim in a way that he can't get a good shot off with a handgun, and so he shoots a metal sign, and it comes back and hits the dude right in the back, and it takes him out. So like those kind of things, like, and Alphas was so good about making it less about sci-fi. That's not true. Making it less about fantasy and making it more about sci-fi. Like
Right.
it was so less rooted in this idea of everything's whatever your imagination can hobbit or whatever. And they did a good job with the Dr. Rosen character, making sure that you could kind of trace this back to a way that could possibly be if, you know, the human body augmented itself in a certain way, that's how that would work. Like there was a girl who couldn't form any long-term memories, but her short-term memories were kinetic and precise. So she could watch a few YouTube videos on how to be a pro BMX biker, and she would be able to do all these pro BMX tricks just by watching it happen.
Cat.
Yeah,
She
she
was another cool character.
She came in
was-
the second
she was
season,
great.
and she was
Yeah.
awesome. And then the one thing that I liked about it, and I think I liked it so much because it reminded me a lot of JMS's Rising Stars, with making it more about the sci-fi than the fantasy, making it like adding some science to
yeah, for
the
sure.
superhero thing. But one of the things about it was there was a girl who could do she had like incredibly heightened senses, and one of the things was that whenever she was using a sense, all of her other senses became essentially deafened. So if she was using her heightened sense of smell, she couldn't see as well. She couldn't hear anything other than like very, very light, muffled, like Charlie Brown parents. And it was, I agree with you. It's the kind of thing where it was so different for what we knew of like the superhero genre, but at the same time, it also, in my opinion, paved the way in a sense for where the superhero genre is now, because it had
I agree.
we had some of the MCU before then. We had plenty of superhero movies before then. But it was like Gary and the strong guy. I can't remember his name.
Fight or Flight. His name was
Adrenal gland.
Bill.
McGee.
His name was Bill.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gary and Bill had like such a great
Oh yeah.
like back and forth snappy relationship, because Bill was basically like the leader of the group. He had his superpower was basically, like Steven said, fight or flight.
Overactive adrenal
Yeah,
gland.
his adrenal glands would kick in, and he would the show.
He would sweat.
The show starts with him like pushing his car off the curb because he basically gets blocked in on a parallel parking street. So he just pushes his car into the street before he gets in. So I think that those two reasons, and the fact that we got screwed on such a huge cliffhanger, was the hardest part for me to swallow, because it was such a good show. One, it was such a good show for a superhero. Like, it was such a different approach to superheroes. 2, and 3, just being the relationships that it was like, that it had built. It just, in only 2 seasons of a show, I felt like connected to the characters.
Yeah. No, for sure. And a lot of that was the way that it was written, man. And it was so smartly written from the gate. And like, none of these actors are like missing this job. I mean, this ended in 2012.
Right.
You know, so Ryan Cartwright, who played Gary, has had a great career since then. And Rebecca Mader, who plays one of my favorite kind of one-off characters on the show, ends up playing the Elphaba character in Once Upon a Time. So she's getting a regular paycheck, you know? Like, she also, by the way, Rebecca Mader plays one of my favorite characters. She plays Blind Spot, which Blind Spot basically just kind of lurks behind you in the place where your eyes, like your peripheral, doesn't catch what you can see. So she just kind of like lives in this area behind you that you can't see.
In your blind spot.
And yeah, and she's an assassin, and for that to be, and she can sense that she's in your blind spot, and she can sense when she's out of your blind spot. So like, even like the subtlety of that characteristic made the show so much more believable. And it's kind of messed up that they took it off the air, because here's, logically speaking, what replaced it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't mean on Sci-Fi. I mean as far as like, because we all know that nothing that replaces anything on Sci-Fi is worth being.
Let's just be clear. The show that replaced, and the part that pisses me off the most, I think the part that makes me the most upset about Alphas being off the air is it was replaced with a show called Defiance. And
yikes.
Defiance was about a, like,
you don't even remember.
It's like a melting pot of a planet. It's kind of like a stopping point. The main city, at least, is kind of a stopping point for traders and like cross galaxy truck drivers of the skies. The show was garbage. Because it canceled, or it's what replaced Alphas, I was thinking, okay, this show has to be excellent because they picked this over season 3 of Alphas, and Alphas was such an excellent show. I watched the entire first season, and I could not care any more, any less. Could not care any less.
In either direction.
In either direction. About any character, any story arc, anything about this show. The first episode was intriguing at the most, and after that it was just terrible. And it ran for 3 seasons. And to put it in perspective, on Rotten Tomatoes at least, Defiance has like a 70%, 75% score, and Alphas has almost a 90%. Like, Alphas was a very well done, highly acclaimed show. And it was replaced with, like, viewer, like, targeted, whatever, focus grouped bullcrap.
See, and I think that's what the problem is with, and it boils down to, and I remember reading when Alphas was canceled, there were so many people that were mad immediately about a show that had not been planned to replace it. But the thing was, we're great. You're going to cancel this really great piece of television, and you're going to replace it with what? Another ghost hunting reality show? Like, we don't need any more of that. We don't need, like, Alphas, where it did start out procedurally, it started to make, like, this turn where the writing started to get better, and maybe not better, but the writing diversified, and you got to see kind of these other characters kind of come out of the woodwork, and you got to see characters that kind of crossed into like Marvel DC lines. Nothing too crazy. There was a character that could sense the weak point in things, and then there was a character who could make fire come out of his body because of the way that the chemicals were augmented in his DNA. And so that's basically a member of the Brotherhood and a member of the Inhumans, but like, that's like, even though they were pushing and pulling and kind of like taking these ideas, it became a really compelling piece of television for the time. And you got to think 2011, 2012, in a time where we were getting a bunch of shows that kind of weren't great. And I have no problem with Psych or Chuck or any of those shows, but the caliber of show that they were purporting to be was not the kind of show that, because Chuck would have been in his last season, I think, in 2011. I might be off, but I
think you're a little off,
but or at least around there. But the writing was so much different. Like, it wasn't as much like, let's make sure this is funny and can capture the viewers, but it's like more, let's make sure that we can make a compelling story and be interesting enough for people to continue to listen to us kind of like hopelessly garble on about things that don't exist.
Right.
And that's what Psych and Chuck basically are. Like, Psych is the poor man's version of Sherlock. And
it's true.
Yeah. And then Chuck is like
the nerd James Bond.
I was gonna say the poor man's version of the Matrix. So it's
that's true too.
I can do kung fu.
Yeah, so you kind of have these shows that are like taking these little ideas here and there, but they're basing their entire show around the little ideas that they're taking here and there. Whereas Alphas was basing this kind of new take, or at least refreshed take, on superheroes and mutants, and doing it in a way that felt scientific and smart. And it was a really compelling piece of television, and it pisses me off that it's gone. And to segue kind of quickly, we just recently lost Powerless on TV, and I recognize certainly that Powerless was written for the sitcom audience.
It was the worst kind of funny, but I laughed every episode.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was really campy.
But it was written to be campy.
But not
it was intentionally campy.
But it wasn't campy in a way like Big Bang Theory is campy.
Right.
It was campy in like a, this is what people laughed at in 1985.
Sure.
Kind of campy. And let's see, I think it was a trajectory of like 7 or 8 episodes, and it got canceled. And it had some really great talent on it. Like Ron Funches was on it, and Danny Pudi, who are two of the funnier.
Alan Tudyk.
Oh yeah, Alan Tudyk. Sorry.
Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, you forgot that Alan Tudyk guy.
Well, Alan Tudyk. I was kind of getting to, but you have Ron Funches and Danny Pudi, who are two of the funnier. Ron Funches is on Kimmy Schmidt, right? And then
no.
Wait, is that the guy from Kimmy Schmidt?
No.
Anyway, he's a comedian.
He's on something on Comedy Central. I can't think of it right now.
I've seen his comedy sets. I've seen his shows. Danny Pudi, obviously Community, Dan Harmon fame, rocking it as Abed. And so you have these two characters, and you're kind of starting to see them in like these different kind of more three-dimensional lights.
Undateable. That's it.
Undateable. That's what I'm thinking. And, you know, of course, you have the uncompromisable Alan Tudyk on the show. So you have these great comedic actors on the show, and you're using them to kind of perpetuate this 1985 humor. And as the show kind of went on, the subject matter of the jokes started to get like a little bit darker and a little bit like it started fun and like silly, but as it kind of went on, like the silly things that you thought were funny started to get like kind of dark. Like the way that Alan Tudyk was like really reliant on his family's money and stuff like that turned into this like really strange kind of character arc for
and
that
really,
character.
Really sad, like cry for attention.
Yeah, no, and you started to kind of understand like where these characters were going, and I never had a lot of faith in the writing for that show because it was made for a major broadcaster. But by the time those like last couple episodes were coming around, I was like, the next season of this show is going to be like hilarious. Like we're totally long form breaking down these walls of you're a daddy's girl, you're a feminist, you are an independent woman, you're a gay man, you are a closet insensitive or a closet
sociopath.
No. Like
you're talking about Jackie. I know what you mean. She has like no sympathy for anybody.
That's a sociopath.
Yeah.
No empathy.
Yeah, but she totally does. She just like puts that thing on. So she's like a closet empathetic almost, you know? And then you have
cold.
Danny Putty's character who's like romantically deranged, you know? And so like you were getting all these like really interesting like little tweaks on these kind of typical sitcom kind of things. And Vanessa Hudgens' character was you can't even describe it as sad, but she was sad. Like she was so sad, and you could start to see it. Like she was working so hard to make sure that this job worked out, and you started to see like, oh wait, she doesn't have any friends.
She was like carrying the company on her shoulders, so she didn't have to like be without people in her life.
Yeah, she doesn't have friends. She doesn't have like a boyfriend. The only boyfriend she did have was that guy from iZombie who turned out to be like a henchman. And then it's
then Wendy, Jenny Pearson's character was just like not deranged, but she was just
it came out in like the third episode. She was a sex addict.
Yeah.
Like that she was stealing or she was borrowing people's keys out of their desk to go sleep with folks in their car. And so that's what I mean. Like the characters were getting like really, the humor wasn't following how weird the characters were getting. And because of that, the humor started to get even weirder than maybe what it should have been. And it was a really sad thing that not only did it get canceled, but it got totally removed from the schedule.
Oh yeah.
Because those
episodes.
Those last 3 episodes could have totally arced over, and then the next season is like this great dark humor.
Gosh! And then the last episode, I think it was the last episode with the Spartan.
Oh yeah,
and
doing the commercial.
Yeah, the Spartan and the green. Oh, what was her name? It was the
Green Flame or something like that.
Yeah, but it was like an incredibly sexist.
Yeah,
like, the entire episode was incredibly sexist, and then the comedy at the very end of the episode flipped it to be like a female empowerment kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it was good. It was I had such high hopes for that show, and I was so excited about it.
Well, anytime I think, for me, at least right now in this climate, when you say Ron Funches, and then you say Danny Putty, and then you say Alan Tudyk, it's like, that show's gonna rock.
How can
And then-
you miss?
Yeah, but the writing was kind of bad.
That'll do it.
Yeah. But even still, I don't know if it was so bad that it had to get removed.
Well, it's not necessarily all the time like
I don't think
the
people
goodness
were
or the badness
interested.
of the show. It's who watches it,
Yeah.
right? Because like
Yeah.
obviously, like we said, Alphas was a great show. That didn't stop them from canceling. Like,
Well, I think
you know,
that with it being a part of the
consumer-driven
DC,
TV.
well, with it being a part of the DC universe, had it been more involved with some more well-known DC characters, it would have been more well received. Because like the only DC character that even is mentioned, well, there are two DC characters that are even mentioned that are well-known characters, and those are Batman, because it's part of Wayne Enterprises. Van Wayne, that's Alan Tudyk's character. He's Batman. He's Bruce Wayne's cousin. And then two, Aquaman, because they had the Atlanteans in the office for like a party one episode.
Yeah, and then after that, it's all like B superheroes that are mentioned.
I mean, B is a high ranking for some of those heroes.
Well, you had Green Fury, which is the girl,
Right.
who's Natalie Morales, which is she's in a lot of stuff and she's great. And then you had Crimson Fox, and then you had the Olympian, and then Jack-O-Lantern was the main villain that you saw, which is kind of DC's take on the Hobgoblin.
Right.
But really,
Spartan.
other than that, yeah, and really, other than that, like that's all you saw.
But I feel like that's kind of the point. Like everything's B level about even the good guys in this show. And
Yeah,
so
and that's-
it would be there would be a disconnect if they started throwing like A-list DC heroes in this. Just like you would be doing that simply for
Yeah, but-
ratings, and then we'd be complaining about that.
But the
because-
way that I see it is, even though it's not in like Metropolis or Gotham or Central City or Star City or whatever,
Or any other made-up city name that DC uses.
right? There was no they played the DC card so heavily, and then used nothing of DC as a lure.
Yeah, that is true, and I think that would have helped for ratings. So I think, kind of somewhere in the middle of what you guys are both saying is how I feel. It's like I like the fact that it was B heroes. I like the fact that it was kind of like B sitcom actors, and if they would have used those for a lure, we would still get to see the show. But Powerless, bar none, even though now it's canceled, has the best opening credits scene
Oh my gosh!
of any show. I think.
Anything that's come out easily in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, and it was so imaginative, and it used a lot of the Silver Age comics, and I couldn't tell ever if they were fabricated or if they were actual covers.
Right.
But it was, even that not knowing, it was really nice, and it's just kind of it kind of pisses me off that it got canceled before we got to see if it was actually any good. You know what I mean? It's like Lost sucked for like 3 seasons
6
before
seasons.
it got good. Yeah. It sucked for like the whole tenure of the show before it got canceled. So How I Met Your Mother should have got canceled after season 8. Friends should have gotten canceled after season 3.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians is on the tail end of its 13th season. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Simpsons is on its 30th season, 29th season now.
And every episode is exactly the same.
Family Guy is going into its, I think, 15th season. And these are South Park is in its 20 some odd season. It's like, so these shows that are kind of like doing the same jokes over and over again and have that devout fan base because they broke the mold early, are still getting to go. But these shows that were kind of like coming into their own were canceled and removed before they kind of got to hang out, man.
Man, I am looking at. I just googled longest running TV shows on air, and it's tough.
Oh yeah, it's like Days of Our Lives.
The Simpsons, Law and Order SVU, Family Guy, NCIS,
Don't talk about it.
Grey's Anatomy,
That one's over.
Supernatural, Big Bang Theory's on its 11th season.
Shut up.
Can I tell you something about Supernatural? Supernatural, the writers only wanted it to be 5 seasons, maybe 6 seasons.
Yep.
And it has been elongated.
Yeah,
so
we
that they can
actually
continue.
we had an episode. I think it was me and Masterman Drabo, where we talked about shows being on the air forever and kind of why we picked a handful of shows and why those shows have been on the air so long and talked about those. Hawaii 5-0 reboot is on its 8th season.
That's crazy.
How?
Well, you gotta think also in like 2007. That's not even true. What year is it? 2017. So like 2011, 2012. Burn Notice was the highest rated show on TV.
Ugh.
Do you know what the
Right.
current highest rated show on TV is? Can you look that up? Because I'm pretty sure I heard it and I lost my mind. But now I can't remember it. But we can't have those shows, we can have those shows, but we can't have shows like Sense8. You know?
The Walking Dead, Big Bang Theory, and tied for third is Empire and Game of Thrones.
It
that
might
was-
have been Empire.
That was for 2016.
I think Empire was the one that I read about. But it's like, I mean, how many shows can you write about a guy that ruins his own hip hop?
But I mean,
brand.
11th place. Well, shoot, tied for 9th place, Designated Survivor. 11th place, America's Got Talent. The Tuesday night show.
Well, and that's the thing too, man. Like, we are stuck with these shows, these reality form TV shows, where, and this is the problem I have with The Voice. The Voice is, and bear with me, but The Voice is slavery. The Voice, you come out onto a stage and you sing, and if people are interested, they turn around and they pick you, and then they use you to try to win the contest for themselves. That's what The Voice is, and that's how
That's
The
a
Voice
really
is.
dark way, a really dark but also very exact way.
Yeah,
to
and
think
that's
about it.
how, and it's so funny to me. Not funny. It's not funny. It's just wrong.
Psychopathic.
They bill it that way. They say, vote for Adam's team, his folks that are all competing against each other so that Adam can win. It's like, you sound like a maniac. Do you realize how much of a maniac you sound like? Vote for Alicia's team? I am not interested. I want to watch cartoon characters shoot each other with sci-fi guns. That's what I want to watch. Put
Yeah.
those shows on
And-
TV.
Just for the record, 1/4 of the 20 highest rated TV shows in 2016 were singing contests.
Like reality competition shows.
Yeah, America's Got
Yeah.
Talent, The Voice both nights, and American Idol both nights.
See, and that's what's most messed up about it is like people are working their butts off to try and create, because TV is one of the last mediums where you can get something off the ground that has original content involved. And so you got these people that are like legitimately pumping original content into these TV shows, and they're getting canceled and bumped because people would rather watch Joe 12-year-old from Kansas sing another rendition of Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen and ruin it. But they want to vote for that kid the next night, so they watch the next night. But nobody's watching Alphas. Nobody's watching Sense8 or Powerless. Which Sense8's kind of a weird example because it's on Netflix. Those shows don't really like populate on Netflix. But it's one of those things where like time that could be given to shows that are actually displaying original creative content is now going to F all, if you will. Am I allowed
Also-
to say F?
Also
F
known as
all?
FXX.
Yeah, FXX.
The
For sure.
the late show FX TV shows.
But it's annoying. Like
Yeah.
like Community in its 5th season fired Dan Harmon because they felt like they were missing out on some of their demographics, so they made the show like a little more palatable. They added like an adult black male, and they like tried to do all these different demographic changes, and the show suffered for it. And then when it finally came back around on Yahoo, when Yahoo had its own streaming service for video,
For
minutes.
Uh,
the final season of Community,
Yeah.
and that is the only reason.
yeah, basically just for Community. Dan Harmon came back on, and when I think of Community, I think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. That's it. Like, I don't think of anything else. So it's kind of it's a situation in TV where what Cole was saying, it being consumer-based television, is actually, in my opinion, hurting the overall longevity of the marketability of TV shows.
Yeah, and one of the things about that is, and I will be the first to begrudgingly admit that I enjoy the giggles from The Big Bang Theory. I watch The Big Bang Theory usually while I'm cooking dinner.
I like it when the jokes are actually funny.
I like it when the jokes are actually jokes and not just nerdy things that are being laugh tracked.
That have like a laugh track behind it.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
But I watch the show. I do enjoy it. I've grown to like the characters. But that being said, I would take season 3 of The Alphas over the last 5 seasons of Big Bang Theory. Like,
All
no
the
questions
seasons.
asked.
I would trade Big Bang Theory in its entirety.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is
And I think the first season of Big Bang Theory is really funny.
because Sheldon was a ladies' man.
Yeah, and because they hadn't run out of the one joke yet.
But yeah, I think that the consumer-based television, like, as someone who participates in consumerism on the television media platform device, which is just called a television. I participate in the consumerism, but I also really enjoy the original content, the good stuff, the good stuff. And I mean, I watch New Girl, I watch Big Bang Theory, I watch shows that I'm like that I don't claim everywhere I go. But at the same time, I loved Alphas. I loved Firefly. I loved Powerless. I thought Powerless was excellent. My wife and I are watching Psych right now. I recommend Chuck to every single person that asks me what they should watch next on Netflix. Like, those are all consumer-based shows. The Office, Parks and Rec. I mean, like, shows that were made to appeal to everyone, to get everybody in, to get them watching whatever. I watch those. I watch almost every America's Got Talent video that pops up on my Facebook feed. And if you don't, you're a liar.
I don't.
You're a liar. I just said it.
But I don't.
No, I mean, I contribute to that society.
You're the problem, Chris.
I am. I'm part of the problem. I definitely agree with that.
But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to be entertained for entertainment's sake.
Exactly.
Right? Like, there's times when I want to watch a TV show that is, mentally stimulating, good plot, whatever. So I'll watch, like a Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
And then there's times when I want to laugh at stupid characters, or there's times when I just want to see, like, cool fight sequences. Like, the problem is that TV is such a diverse medium now that you have to, like, you do have to appeal to all sorts of audiences. There's nothing wrong with trying to appeal to all sorts of audiences, but the issue is when you're sacrificing all of the good content for the sake of ratings, for, you know, like dragging something else out too long or trying this new thing that you know isn't really going to work. You need to give the people, you need to give us like both and. Like, we want our cake and eat it too. We want to have our cake and eat it too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the problem is like, obviously we can't control what gets canceled and what doesn't, because, you know, I just watch everything on Hulu and Netflix anyway. So
Right. Well, it's like you look back
because I don't pay for cable. You
look back at Babylon 5. Babylon 5, written by J. Michael Straczynski. So why not talk about it? He went into season 1. When he pitched the pilot, he said there are 5 seasons. If you take the show, you get 5 seasons. You get no more, you get no less. And that was J. Michael Straczynski's pitch, is if you accept this pilot and you air this pilot, you air 5 seasons of television. And when the 5th season was on air, it was its highest rated season. And the studio execs wanted another season. And J. Michael Straczynski said, no, you don't get another season. You get 5 seasons. That's it. And it kind of reminds me of like what you were saying about Supernatural. Is like they went in and they had this storyline, and you can see that shift happen if you watch Supernatural. You can see that shift of, and this is what we talked about on the episode with Masterman Drabo, is that show is still on the air because it is not the same show. It is not the entire mythos has been adjusted and has reneged on itself and has changed its own mythos just to live longer on television.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Agreed. And you gotta think too, like those things come in like cycles, because Arrested Development was canceled in 2006,
something like that.
And then it came back around in 2013.
Yep.
And then Deadwood was canceled off of HBO after its eighth season, and it had just won like a bunch of Golden Globes, you know. And
that is not Deadwood. Deadwood was on the air for 3 seasons.
Oh, I'm sorry. It won 8 Emmys. Is what It won. It was on 3 seasons. It won 8 Emmys. It won a Golden Globe, and then it just ended. It's like, that's not fair. And then
that was a good show.
Family Guy was canceled, and then it came back. And Futurama was canceled, and then it came back. Flight of the Conchords, 2 seasons of maybe the funniest offbeat comedy that, and it was canceled, and they have this huge following, you know.
Still,
so it's just, still. And I know I personally watch anytime somebody says Jermaine Clement, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch it. You know, it's like Jermaine Clement is to comedy to me what like Mila Jovovich is to an action movie. Like, I'm gonna watch it because I know you're gonna do a good job in your genre, you know, and it's gonna be really funny. Veronica Mars had that big Kickstarter campaign and brought it back. So there is stuff we can like try, to get some of this stuff back. It's not a horrible idea. Like when Sense8 was canceled just recently, when it was canceled, there was this big thing where they were like, we're not bringing it back. It's too expensive. The whole crew was like, we're not going to be able to do it. And it's like, well, just give me a movie. Just give me 2.5 hours of you kicking somebody's ass, and I'll be happy. And at the end of it, say, man, what a great time we all had, or whatever. And there are still things that we can do as consumers to try and make that happen. Like if you kickstarted it, the Wachowskis would be like, yeah, I can do that. But the Wachowskis are spending a lot of money elsewhere currently, so you gotta, no judgment. But like making sure that those things are funded, and then if you can find one of those places that like matches it halfway, I think Netflix would probably do that. I know they said it was too expensive, but you do it halfway, and or if we can like kickstart it up to halfway and then they match the other half, something like that. But it's not just TVs and movies, it's also like games that we all love,
like Left 4 Dead.
That's a great example. Left 4 Dead is one. I always think of I seem to remember y'all did an episode and you said Bloody Roar, and it was like, why isn't Bloody Roar a thing anymore?
Well, Bloody Roar had 5 games.
Yeah, but it was 5 games that were poorly translated onto lesser devices, and
that's fair.
they could be like the Tekken or the whatever, but they're not. But Left 4 Dead, I remember specifically with you two, not the band, but the other 2 people hosting the episode. I remember leaving you guys sad and bloody in a horde of
every
zombies.
Single time.
Lieutenant Aldo Rain would just run off.
Yeah.
In a horde of zombies while I won life. And it's like
co-op game.
Yeah, it's a co-op game. It's team building until the team helps
Includes
you win.
Steven.
It's team building for Machiavellian people. But it's one of those things, like there was Left 4 Dead, there was Left 4 Dead 2. Why haven't they updated it?
Well, and Left 4 Dead 2 had the DLC that you could get all of the maps from the original.
Yeah.
So it was like Left 4 Dead 2, because there was so much advancement in home console gaming at that point that by the time Left 4 Dead 2 came out, Left 4 Dead 1 looked like garbage.
Yeah.
So they had it so you could download all these other maps. They revamped everything, made it look nice. And we just this March, we got some teasing for Left 4 Dead 3, hoping to see something at E3 this year for it, and we didn't get that. But I think Left 4 Dead 3 is something that, at least the fan base, it's a little bit of a different story, because it didn't get canceled. It's just out there right now. Valve isn't Valve anymore, but the people behind Left 4 Dead have shown interest and want to remake another game. It's just a matter of
What are you waiting
it's a matter of oh man, it's late.
Funding?
Not funding, but having resource planning.
Yeah.
It's like you've got all these other titles slated that you're trying to get done, and studios have certain certain titles that they stick to, like Epic Games has Gears of War. It's the same thing, and Valve doesn't exist as Valve anymore, so it's owned by a different company. So it's not like Valve can just say, well, let's make another Left 4 Dead game, that's our big seller. It's now owned by someone else who has another big seller. So with that, I think it's just a matter of, and it's going to be a longer timeline, but I think we're going to see the same thing that we did with Gears of War 4, where no one was expecting a Gears of War 4. After the travesty of Judgment Day, nobody really wanted a Gears of War 4. But a decade passed, and console gaming advanced so much that Epic Games was just like, we're doing this. We're making Gears of War 4. We've got the story. We've got all this. And Left 4 Dead's not a game of incredibly deep storyline.
Nope.
So it's not that there's a lot of writing that needs to go into it. It's just development. And I think it's going to come down to the fans are going to cry out for it, to the point where it's going to be, we have to make a Left 4 Dead 3 game, and we have to keep it under wraps, and we have to do a big reveal at E3, and we have to blow everybody's mind. And if it sucks, we blew it, and the pressure's on.
Right. Well, I think that's kind of the problem with, and it could easily be said across the board, is that the failure of a product is what keeps that product from us.
The potential failure.
It's the fear, yeah.
Yeah,
Fear
and
of failure.
it's the
Be
people,
brave.
and it's kind of a
Be
funny
brave.
thing because people don't really have cable. A lot of our peers don't have cable anymore. They have Netflix, they have Hulu, they have HBO Go, they have Showtime, they have Stars, streaming services, they have Amazon Prime, all those, but they don't have like TBS, they don't have FX, they don't have those kind of streaming services. So I think it's just a situation where if we want to see more good things happen as the black rim glasses nerds that we are, we need to, it's both of you.
Yeah, we're both wearing black rim glasses.
I know.
It's we need to stop relying so much on this idea that like, oh, someone else will watch it, I'm just gonna wait for it to come out on Netflix. Don't do that, because it's gonna get canceled, and your favorite show and your favorite characters are gonna be canceled. It's like, if you're gonna be a consumer, consume and go for it. I consume 100 hours of new music a week. If you want to consume 3 hours of TV, maybe like put yourself out there and really gun for that specific channel, that specific show, or throw down $2 on iTunes, you know? Anything like that's going to help the show stay on. Powerless, I'm definitely guilty, even though for me that was like a experiment. You know, I pay my money for Netflix. I expect to see more Sense8, but it's gone. So what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Just B&M all over the place and
Do a podcast about how you're upset about it.
yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point to end on. Is if you're gonna consume.
Buy local. No?
Don't buy local. There's not a lot of local TV worth watching.
Local TV, man. Only the point of the episode is only watch local TV.
Don't do that.
Big broadcast will let you down.
Yeah, right. But no, if you're gonna consume, and if there's a show that you're passionate about, or a game that you're passionate about, or whatever that you're passionate about, support it. Support that thing. And whether that's shelling out the cable and tuning into that channel so those execs can see that +1 viewer at that time, or you're buying the season pass on iTunes, or you're subscribing to Hulu like premium and watching it as it airs, or whatever, like,
or if you're listening to your favorite podcast and you don't subscribe to them on Patreon or Satchel or Amazon, you know, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, if you're gonna consume. But yeah, I think that's good. What about, so I think this is a great episode to kind of leave open-ended. So to our listeners, what are you #triggered about?
Yeah, what pissed you off about TV?
What show do you miss?
What show would you like to see again? What video game? What movie franchise? I talked to a guy the other day and he was like, I legitimately cannot believe that they didn't keep making the Last Airbender movies.
Oh gosh.
I was like, you can't believe that? You can't believe at all that maybe the first one was super horrible and they didn't want to keep going with that. But, with the Unbreakable franchise, I guess everything is possible.
Which is still weird. But anyways, what show, movie, game, whatever were you pissed about when it got taken off the air? You want to see it back? You want to see you want some hashtag closure.
Hashtag trigger closure.
That sounds like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtag bullet points.
Great graphic novel, J. Michael Straczynski. Anyways, with that, we bid you adieu. We're done with the show. If you're going to consume, and if you're going to consume this podcast, check out Patreon, Satchel, and Amazon. You can go to betweenthecons.com/either of those words, any of those words, and help support the show. Keep us on the air. And don't start yet. It's too soon. Go to betweenthecons.com to check out our website. You can stream our episodes online, link out to our social media. If you like our theme music, check out Afixa on Bandcamp. And finally, make sure you guys subscribe to the show. We make it really easy for you. Betweenthecons.com/subscribe. And then you can select whatever you choose as your podcast app on your phone or your computering device. And it'll kick you right over to that link. But thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. You guys have a great week. We will talk to you next time.
Ahoy! All right, so this is another song I wrote.